All right, explorers, so today I'm up here at the Yankee Fork dredge. That's a massive piece of equipment. And I'm up here with my mama and my son. And we're going to go through this tour and take a look at how this machine worked. I'm going to show you guys a bunch of that. And yeah.
Find some gold.
Find some gold, you're right. I'm pretty sure they got that under control.
Okay.
Anyway, let's head in and I'll show you some of this apparatus as we're walking in. Probably, yeah. So there was this series of buckets on here. This thing worked basically like a chainsaw,
right.
And it dug into the ground, and all of this was raised and lowered by these cables, which run back to these giant electric winches that are in there. They've got these huge engines in there that ran the generators for the electric production for all of the winches. This thing ran non-stop. I'll show you some of the information they have posted as we're going through, but this thing ran 24 hours a day with 3 people on it. So let's go on in. I'll let the tour guide tell us some stuff, and I'll show you all the signs along the way, so you'll have a little better information than I can give you. But yeah, this is a big piece of equipment.
Now this, what them plaques out front don't tell you is how they found gold in this canyon. That pipe you see out there laying on its side out there on the other side of that walkway, that's called a caisson. Back in 1939, they had a 12-man crew in this canyon. That pipe was turned up on end. They were taking shifts, digging down to find bedrock. Also to find out how much gold was in here and what kind of gold was it to be found. They found bedrock down, the deepest was at 35 feet down. This dredge can actually dig 37 feet. That bedrock ranged from 35 feet, being the deepest, all the way up to 3 feet. So the dredge had no problem getting to bedrock. Now they also discovered the kind of gold was actually in this canyon. It was all placer type gold, but it was very small, and there was a lot of it. So this dredge, that's what it was designed to go after, was the small type gold. They did lose nuggets from time to time out this dredge, out the stacker. That trombos only had so big of holes in it, the gold would fit through them holes, would get trapped in the sluice boxes below. They also discovered when they were doing that test that the gold they were finding, they estimated in 1939, when gold was going between $30 and $35 an ounce, that there was $11 million in gold in this canyon. This dredge only captured $1,200,000 of that gold. Now in 1960, when J.R. Simplot still owned this dredge, he brought a crew in here. They test drilled the entire length of this canyon, all the tailing piles out there you see. They estimated by their estimate that 60% of the gold is still in place. The only reason J.R. Simplot did not fire this dredge back up and run everything back again is because gold in 1960 wasn't high enough in value for him to make a profit. So he waited 6 years to see if that price would come up. It didn't. In 1966, he donated this dredge and the 1 acre of ground it's sitting on to the Forest Service. All the rest of the tailing piles, all the way down this canyon, is still owned by the Simplot Corporation. It is a patented mining claim. Now, where you're standing here is called the gang winch, the winch room, I should say. That's called the gang winch right there with all the winches on it. This winch here is the winch, so big one. It's designed to raise and lower that entire digging ladder. That gang winch there is powered by a 40 horsepower AC electric motor. This big winch here is powered by a 100 horsepower AC electric motor. So on this dredge behind that wall are 2 big diesel motors. On the back of them motors are alternators. Them alternators produced 440 volts of 3-phase AC electricity. Them motors are what powered everything on this dredge. In a 24-hour period, them diesel motors would go through 600 gallons of number 2 diesel. And they ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And like I said, the first 2 years of this dredge, they ran 12 months of the year. So they were going through a lot of diesel.
It'd be worth it now to go through here and
Yes, but the problem is that nowadays, with the environmentalists and everything going on, and the fishing game and the Indian population are trying to reinstate the salmon back into this river, the Yankee Fork and Jordan Creek. And we also know that there are bull trout in both streams. And bull trout is an endangered species, so they'll never be able to do any kind of big mining up here again. Now the big winch back there in the back, that's actually raised to lower this pivot. The pivot was the anchor point, they call it the spud. That spud is 55 feet long and weighs 17.5 tons. That's what anchored this dredge in position. This little model here gives you an idea of how this dredge is actually run. This, you see the cables from the front of the dredge going out to a dead man. They had two of them on each front part of the dredge. They also had cables coming off the back side, or in the back of this dredge, to the same dead men. That's how they would actually move this dredge. The winchman upstairs would actually raise the pivot off the bedrock, raise the digging ladder off the gravel. He would then activate the real pulleys on this, pull this dredge forward 3 feet at a time. That's how they come up this canyon, 3 feet at a time, 3 feet at a time. It could move forward 8 foot, but very rarely. 3 feet was the maximum. They come up here 5.5 miles that way. This dredge didn't go down 1/2 of the canyon and come back up it. It worked the entire width back and forth across. The pond that this thing floated in was about 2 football fields big. So they could actually, no problem, moving this dredge all back the way across. Now the stream, everybody thought this thing come up the stream, and the river, the Yankee Fork River. It did not. It come up in its own pond. It dug its own holding pond as it went across this entire width of this canyon. They would divert water out of that Yankee Fork River to help float it from time to time. They never was in the stream itself running this dredge.
So it's undisturbed, the actual Yankee Fork stream is...
No, it's actually, back when the day when this dredge was parked here, actually this stream come up alongside this bank all the way up here, crossing the Georgia Creek, and went right back down on the hillside here, all the way down past Bonanza and around the corner. They actually diverted that stream so they wouldn't have to work in it. That's why the stream was over there right now, is because that's where the last time it was put over there, so they wouldn't have to deal with it. Now when they moved this dredge forward 3 feet, the winchman upstairs would lower the pivot back into the bedrock. He'd lower the digging ladder into the gravel about 3 feet. He'd activate these 2 winches up front. He would pull this dredge across an 80-foot arc, digging all the way across. He would reach the end of that 80-foot arc. He would lower the digging ladder back down another 3 feet. It took him about 2 hours to do that 80-foot arc. He would then activate the opposite winch, bring it all the way back across, digging as it went. They did that back and forth motion all the way down to bedrock. Once they reached bedrock, they slowed this dredge down drastically. On bedrock is where the goal should be sitting at. So they wanted to be on that bedrock as long as possible. 3-4 hours to do that 80-foot arc. That's why it took them so long to get down to bedrock.
All right, so we're heading upstairs to go to the control room. This is just an overview of the winches. You can see all these winches that are in here, how they were controlled, all the different things that they did. Let's go on up to the control room. So this is the motor control room. I'll let you read that. These were all resistors that they used to actually control the motor speeds. All these different plates in here. And over here's a switchboard that they could turn stuff on and off.
The trommel is full of little holes. There's water spraying on the outside, and there's water spraying on the inside. It's rotating. The largest holes in this are 5/8 of an inch. Anything smaller than 5/8 of an inch will come out here in the sluice box on either side of the machine. Anything larger than 5/8 of an inch goes out the back on the stacker and on the ground. This is a spud here, goes in the ground. anchors the machine from going backwards when it's digging here. Also allows the machine to swing back and forth. The winchman up here, he made 87.5 cents an hour. And pretty good benefits. They furnish him with a home, you know, a new home with hot and cold running water, indoor plumbing, electricity, and a school for the children.
Wow.
So out here in the middle of nowhere, that's pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
This is the hydraulic system that allowed him to control his winches and stuff down there where he came in, up here with these levers like this. And he looks at his window and made sure everything was like it should be, with the cables and stuff. And then he could, you know, raise things up or release the brake and let it go down. He controlled everything but the stacker and the trommel. And the rear oiler controlled that. Back in the back.
So this is where the drag line came up, where all the buckets came up and they dumped into this big hopper right here. And then they could open and close this gate to allow them to come down. And this is a rock ejector here. They had rocks that were so big that they couldn't go through the trommel, which I'll show you here in just a second, and they would actually eject out of the side. Somewhere in here there's a picture showing a rock being ejected out of the side. I'll get that on here, but this is where everything came up into this, and then it all went into this trommel, which was spinning and had water shooting on the inside and the outside. And you can see those holes. They're only 5/8 of an inch. And they were talking about that down below. This thing ran all the time. Can you imagine how loud this was with all the rock tumbling through that? My God. See how much that drag line sagged down in there.
Chesapeake Hoist Corporation, 21 New York, made in USA, 8 tons.
That's just that hoist, though.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the gantry hoist. That would roll back and forth, and they could pull stuff out of there, do whatever they needed.
How's 2-1?
2-1 to New York? I don't know.
I thought maybe Pittsburgh Steel might have something to do with this.
So this is the drive gear for the bucket line. This is actually in 2 pieces. They could change this out. There's a piece outside that's broken, but you can see right here it's bolted together there, and then bolted here at the shaft, and then there would be another bolt plate down there. That's probably what they used that hoist for, was to take these pieces out, to be able to change these out.
So this thing drove the
It
bucket
drove
or
the bucket line, the drag line. No, this is what hauled all the rock. This is what allowed
Is it a
it.
generator?
That's a motor. So this little sign just tell you can pause and read that. This was the AC motor that ran this whole piece here. That little tiny spur gear in there drove all of this.
Buckets out?
This is the thing that all the rock that came out of the trommel, it went onto that conveyor, and that conveyor was spinning, and it slung the rock out behind it, which is all those tailings that look like giant welds. That's just from that thing swinging, this whole thing swinging back and forth. Kind of hard to see it, but that box right there with that cabling, that's the spud. That's the part that lowered down into the ground to anchor this in place, and then this entire operation pivoted on that. And when they wanted to move it, they had to raise that up, and then they would winch this thing forward 3 feet. They would lower that back down and start it all over again. Look off in the distance out there, you can see those piles of rocks. That's actually tailings off of this piece of equipment running. Alright, so this is the electric motor that ran the trommel. There's the gear on the end of the trommel. You see this water line that comes up here and feeds in. This was blasting high pressure water up into that to wash all the rock, to keep everything moving through there, and to allow the gold and the smaller rock and stuff that would fit through those holes in the trommel to actually wash out. We've got these gigantic rheostats. The oiler, the person that worked back here, he would control the speeds of the stacker, which is that conveyor belt, and the screen, which was this, and that's all electric controlled, all AC motors, and so he could control the speed of everything with those two levers right there. Here's a sign about the stern oiler position. Go ahead and pause that to read. So these are the sluice boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 of them. So as this trommel was turning and all of that small stuff was falling out, it would come out of those little openings right there, and then the water was sprayed. This was the normal pressure, not the high pressure water. They could control it to wash these sluice boxes out. All of that material would wash through there, and then there's actually one of these, I believe, off on the other side, and there was a very secretive operation. They didn't have anybody in here other than the gold man, and I think they had one person that would come in here and pull all of these screens out and empty that into containers and take it off of here. So everybody else that was working on this operation never saw how much gold, how much material they were actually taking out of here. That was one of the things they were very extremely secretive of. They just didn't let anybody know what they were getting out of here. Read this. Sluice boxes. Okay, so it had 16. I guess they were only on this side. They did use mercury. So again, you can pause that and read it. All right, so now we're looking into the engine room. Now they had some damage from ice a couple years ago, and then they had even more snow last year, so they've got this supported. I don't know if you can see right up here, there's some broken beams. They've got them bolted and they've got all this cribbing supporting it. So we can't go back in and look in the engine room, but I'll show you what we can see of them. These are the two engines that had the alternators on it that produced all the electricity for this entire operation. Here's a sign. You can take a read of that. Let's see if I can get out of the light. Pause that to read it. So that was the engine room, different containers for different things. Well, I want to thank you for joining me on this tour through the Yankee Fork dredge. This is just really a huge and impressive piece of equipment. Thank you for joining me with my mother and my son as well. Here they are looking at different pictures and whatnot. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it. There's going to be some more stuff. Just keep coming. All right, thanks again. We'll see you soon.